Right now, we have very special guests. We have people from Cloudflare. You know that Cloudflare are so significant when it comes to the internet as a whole, but also when it comes to crypto, because they are the guardians of this space. They are protecting so many websites worldwide from attacks and from other malicious activity. And that being said, I want to give the stage to Aliza Knox, APAC Managing Director of Cloudflare, and Nick Sullivan, Head of Research from Cloudflare. And they're going to talk about how to keep internet safe and what Cloudflare is doing. A big applause for Aliza and Nick. Welcome up on stage.
Good morning. Great to see you guys. And it was a really nice introduction, don't you think? So Nick and I are going to be up here together. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes. I run our Asia business, and Nick is our global head of cryptography. And the reason we're here, as was just said, is that we are helping to build a better internet, which I guess leads to our intro about being a guardian for many of the crypto exchanges. So I think it's just important to go through how our mission aligns with what most of you are trying to do. So if you look at what's happening in the world of risk, the World Economic Forum that you might be familiar with, they sponsor Davos every year. They list every year in a report what are the major global threats. So the top three are climate change, which is something I hope none of us are ignoring and doing things about, but it's not relevant specifically to this conference. The next two relate to cybercrime, relate to data theft and to cyber attacks. And that is why we're here to talk to you today, and one of the things that Cloudflare is working on. So for example, if we talk about exchanges in a broader sense, the Hong Kong exchange was attacked earlier this year, and the CEO confirmed in September that there had been a denial of service attack, a DDoS attack, on its open access website, and it had overwhelmed the network, and as could happen with a crypto network, for example, affected the ability to display prices and publish filings. So these are serious impediments to businesses that you may be trying to run. And it's not just money. We'll come to money in a minute. But if you're trying to build up an exchange, a crypto business, do something with Bitcoin, you need people's trust, and you need customers' word of mouth to be positive. But what happens when there's a data breach? So behind me, there's data from the US from a number of different sources, so the numbers don't completely mesh. But if you look, loss of trust in business, if there's a data breach, 65% of people lose trust in an organization. I actually think the other 35% are pretty nice to still keep trusting the org. And 80% of the people say they will defect if their own information is compromised. Below that, you look out to what happens. Well, 52% of people will go, or at least consider going to a competitor. And they also say that as they choose who they're going to do business with, security is important. The other thing is, not only are the people whose information is lost or whose supplier is breached impacted, but there's word of mouth. We all know the amplification abilities of social media, and in fact, one of the lead guys from Twitter, Alan Land, will be on stage later talking about how Twitter can help you amplify a message, which is mostly for the good. But if it's negative and you have a breach and people are on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, talking about their experience, it really hurts you. So it is quite important to protect your business from breaches. And it's not only important from the messaging point of view, it is important for what happens from a financial perspective. So for listed companies, the research shows that share prices fall 7%, and over the long term on NASDAQ, companies with breaches have seen their shares fall 4%, or the company lose 4% of value from a breach. And that's any breach. Obviously, there have been much larger ones, very public. Equifax in 2017 not only had lots of issues around the value of the company, but has paid a $575 million fine, and it may go up. British Airways, which had the Magcart incident in the UK last year, had the UK fine them $230 million. I think it was 183 million pounds. So there is reputational risk, there's long-term brand damage, there's the loss of existing and future customers, and there's actual financial fines that can be imposed. And that's for any business, and we'll get to crypto exchanges specifically in a minute. So looking at major data breaches in crypto, I've just pulled a few. Some of you in this room may be more familiar with some of the specifics, or some other ones that I don't have up here. I think the third article is perhaps the most telling, where it says in 2018 there was at least $1 billion lost. At least 1 billion in cryptocurrencies were stolen from exchanges and other platforms worldwide. That's a lot to lose. That's a lot for your customers, clients, vendors, whoever you're working with in this space to lose. Some of the examples: Coincheck, 530 million. In April last year, there was the Ethereum attack where the hackers executed a BGP hijack attack, which it says breaks the basic infrastructure of the internet. And indeed, this is something Cloudflare is working on. They poisoned the DNS responses for myetherwallet.com to make the hackers' Russian server seem like the rightful owner of the address. And so in doing so, in attacking the BGP pipe, that's a fundamental building block of the internet. And I'll come to in a minute, and then Nick will go into more detail about how Cloudflare is trying to help with that. And in July, just this year, just a couple months ago, BitPoint lost 32 million from hackers, or to hackers. So this is ongoing. As much as crypto exchanges are working on this, people are addressing it, there continue to be attacks. So what can people in your business do to protect themselves against this? And here's where Cloudflare comes in, and I just want to tell you a bit about us. We are well known in your industry, which is great, as was said before we came up, although generally we're still a kind of a quiet plumbing of the internet, as our co-founder Michelle likes to say. We will be in 200 cities by the end of this year in terms of a point of presence. That's where our network pops are. We are global, though. We are, as you can see at the bottom, within 100 milliseconds of 99% of the world's internet users. We have over 20 million domains on our network, and 18% of the world's top websites use at least one of our products. And we're blocking 44 billion threats a day, and that's 2 quarters old, so that data, so it's more now. So we are a massive network that's been set up to really try to help address some of the parts of the internet that were never, when it was set up, it was between academics, where there was trust, where people never imagined the scale and the breadth of use that the internet would address. So why do crypto players use Cloudflare? We have this scale that I just spoke about. We have an integrated platform. So with many providers, there obviously are competitors to Cloudflare in this space, there are trade-offs between speed, how fast your customers see pricing, can put up filings, can manage their accounts, and security. Many security providers need to take traffic someplace to clean it, need to do other things to investigate the traffic, whereas what we do is more like a sieve, so that clean traffic comes through, dirty traffic is removed. Volumetric attacks, DDoS attacks are spread across the network. So our scale gives a huge benefit. We have unified pane of glass, so you can see everything across our network. We have shared intelligence. One of the things that is most interesting to me about the business, I've been at Cloudflare a couple years, I came from Google and Twitter. The founders came up with this idea of giving away our basic service for free. It's generally not enough for most of you in the crypto business, but if you're a mom and pop florist, for example, or my WordPress blog, it's a good start. So many of the players on our network are on for free. That's great. It's not really basically to just get people to upsell. Most of them stay free. But what it gives all of the people who use our network and pay for our network is unbelievable insight. We are the biggest crowdsourced site for threat vectors, attack vectors. All these people who want to steal the money, they practice. They practice their attacks in various places. And it's not on your exchanges or your accounts. It's on my WordPress blog or the delivery, small mom and pop delivery in Thailand. And so when they are practicing, we see those threat vectors, we see the new kinds of attacks, and we're able to protect against them. And because we're at the edge, our fabric protects everybody in our network once we've seen that. So it's a really amazing set of shared intelligence. We're developer friendly. For most developers, they can actually get up and running on us in literally 5 minutes, and we support a multi-cloud environment. So the last thing I'm going to talk about before handing over to Nick is how this works, what we're trying to do. So as Matthew, our other co-founder, says, we're kind of patching the internet. If you step back and think about it, that's a hard thing to do. There's like no one thing to put a Band-Aid on. Behind me, I've showed the steps for a request to be passed when it comes to your server. And we've designed a solution that does patching at the edge, as I've said. So when the internet changes, we can change patches with them. So what's unique about us is the innovation and scale we bring, and the fact that all the way through, from DNS to SSL to bot management to web application firewall, we're protecting all the requests until they get to your origin server. Before I talk too long, I want to hand over to Nick, who is our global head of cryptography. And if any of you have seen our famous wall of entropy, either pictures of it or had a chance to go in our office in San Francisco, the man behind the lava lamps.
Sure. Thank you, Lisa. So you may recognize this wall of lava lamps. This is something that we have in our office in San Francisco. It's not just something that's cool to look at, but it's actually functional. And so my work at Cloudflare is to help look at what ways we can change the internet for the better and use interesting and creative technologies to do so, such as these lava lamps. We use the motion of these lava lamps to help generate cryptographic keys that we use to secure our traffic in the internet. So this is not the only way that we help build a better internet. In fact, how Cloudflare interacts with the rest of the internet is something that's very, very powerful. We're located all around the world, located very close to a lot of people, and we have a very dynamic network. And as Elisa described, we're excellent at providing API and site protection. We do so for some of the largest players in the cryptocurrency space. But if you go deeper, we also can provide protection at the network layer. And if you're setting up a network like Bitcoin or Ethereum or some other blockchain, these nodes need to communicate with each other. And they do so using network protocols. And so Cloudflare is actually set up to help protect these node-to-node communications, because the internet is a wild and crazy place. The last thing I'll note here is that we actually have developer tooling that's specialized for blockchain and for distributed web development. And this is one of the most promising applications of Cloudflare, which is combining the classic internet with some of these new ideas that are coming from the blockchain and distributed ledger technology space. So to go a little bit more deeper into how this works, if you are setting up a network, a crypto network, it is typically with nodes set around the world, miners, and also points to that actually do the consensus, and they communicate with each other using low-level protocols like TCP and UDP. Well, Cloudflare has a feature called Spectrum, and this product defends against denial of service attacks at this lower layer. So TCP and UDP, you can use Spectrum to help defend the communication between your nodes. At an even lower layer, and this is not layer as the blockchain sense, but this is layer in the classic internet sense, IPv4, IPv6. Magic Transit is a new product that we have that helps defend and protect sites at the IP layer. So that's from a network perspective, but if we are going to get to this new world in which distributed technologies, peer-to-peer technologies are usable and something that all the internet it depends on, you need developers to be able to interact with it, and you need users to be able to work with it. So one of the products that we launched over the last year is called the Distributed Web Gateway. Now, this feature allows users to use Cloudflare's global network to access various distributed web technologies. We currently support IPFS and Ethereum. So you can imagine IPFS as the storage layer and Ethereum as an example of the compute layer. And if you have a distributed web site, you have something that is backed by a smart contract, you can build it on top of Cloudflare. And we provide a lot of the same features that we provide to other customers. So caching, performance, SSL, custom hostname, analytics. This is something that helps us bridge the gap between the current technology and what's coming next. Another interesting feature that is hopefully going to be part of how new technologies are built in the blockchain space is called the League of Entropy. I mentioned we use the lava lamps in Cloudflare's office for randomness, for our generating keys. Well, this year we've collaborated with 5 other different organizations to create a public randomness beacon. And this combines randomness sources from both Cloudflare's lava lamps, as well as places like the University of Chile, which is measuring earthquakes, to the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne in Switzerland, and all of these organizations combine together in a cryptographic protocol to build a randomness beacon. Randomness beacons are a key part of the new constructions of proof of stake, which are necessary for the next generation of blockchain technologies. So with this said, we should step back and say that Cloudflare itself is not just the solution for everything that you need cryptographically. Folks are building on other different technologies, and Cloudflare is part and parcel to the larger solution. So if you're building a website, a web service, something that integrates on the web with any of these different backend providers, cloud services, or technology partners, we work well with them. And Cloudflare's mission is to help build a better internet. So to do so, we have to all work together. And so with that, I'll leave this up here and thank everyone for attending.